first Americans in the early 90s. Russia was still a young country undergoing a significant turmoil, and to us then, Americans represented the West, and America represented the West. And I think it's true today too, some 30 years later. So I met the West face to face when I was still a teenager. I remember our first meeting. Friends of my parents, friends brought along an American couple just to meet for an afternoon tea, nothing special, just to speak with them. And we spent all entire evening together, talked nonstop, asked them so many questions. We had so much fun hosting that American couple. It was so different from the Russian guests when the Russian guests would come. The Americans smiled a lot. They kept up drinking with us, with the Russians. They loved to eat. They seemed very open about everything. They laughed. They even sang a song with us. They were Christian. They were a family with children, and they seemed very peaceful. They ended up being everything that we were. After they left, me, mom, and dad, all of us, we were shocked. We couldn't even speak. We just looked at each other. I remember one thought: they are the same as us. It sure sounds funny today, now, but in 1991, it was a revelation, really, for me at least. Well, for my parents too. Wow, just wow. They were the same. They loved, they laughed, they had feelings, they had emotions, and they believed in God just like we did. What I learned in the early 90s still stands true today. I still find Russians and Americans, basically all Westerners, to be very similar in many ways. Yet, when you look at the results that Russia and the Western countries produce, the results are very contrasting. How is that possible? How people who are very similar can, manage their lives and create such different results? And in today's stream, I'll share my take on how Russia is different from the West. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. What you will not find here is lies, BS, and propaganda. What you will find is truth, common sense, and logic, and some emotions, because I am a human being. For the first 30 minutes, I deliver my message and then invite everyone to join me in the live stream chat where we converse, and I try to answer as many questions as possible. I'd love that if you join. Thank you. So first things first, why am I doing this? Why am I sharing this message? Because I think Russia is still greatly misunderstood. Here at Inside Russia, I am asked many times this very basic questions about Russia, or something like that, like why Putin is doing that to Ukraine? Oh, why Russians are putting up with Putin? And, questions like that. I hope that after today's live stream, many questions will be answered. Well, not really answered. I put it like this. I hope that after today's stream, Russia will become more understood. Here I'll try to simplify my explanation as much as possible. If you find it too primitive of an explanation, please forgive me, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. I'm giving you the angle on how Russia and the West are different. Most likely, you haven't heard this before. How Russia is different from the West. Well, to make things simple, I'll pretend that a country is a village. You know what? Instead of explaining what I mean, let me show you. Let me tell you. Let's say Russia is a village and America is also a village. Now, let's start with Village America. More or less, it's how all the Western countries are. Well, we'll call them villages, give or take. Now, Village America. A bunch of people get together and create a Village America. It has fence and a bunch of houses. A bunch of people who live in houses on land. People get together and speak up, and they agree on a few things. The first and the most important thing is the foundation of the village, so to speak, the principle of self-governance. We are the people, we know the best, what's the best for us. We will decide on how we manage our village now and forever. We do not have anyone telling us what to do. We are the decision makers. We are the people. And we decide everything by getting together and voting. Whatever gets majority of votes gets done. Using this principle, the villagers write up a set of rules and call it the Constitution. It's written in stone, no one can change it, and everyone must obey it. It's either take it or leave the village altogether. The rules that the villagers decide to live by are very simple and more or less awesome. The villagers want to be free, so they decide that there will be freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition in their village, no matter what, no matter how much some might not like it. Okay, this is it. Freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. The villagers want to defend their freedoms and properties, so they decide that everyone has a right to bear arms and to use it for defense of their properties and their lives only. The villagers decide that their property is their property. No one can force them into use it against their will. Not neighbors, not the government, no one. The villagers decide that they have a right to fully enjoy the rights of personal security, personal liberty, and private property. Therefore, they prohibit unreasonable searches and seizures. The villagers decide that everyone is guaranteed the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. They want everything to be transparent and fair. The villagers decide to prohibit cruel and unusual punishment, as they are decent, God-loving folks. Again, these rules are set in stone, written in blood. They cannot be changed. Why? Well, for one simple reason. We are the people have spoken. We are the people want it that way. Now, with the rules and principles understood, let's take a look how villages run. Inside Village America, you have private property where no one is allowed to step on except for its rightful owner. Then you have public property, roads, sewages, water supply, the world around village, etc. You need to provide security, safety, and comfort for everyone. And this is how it's done in the Village America. People get together and they decide that they want to create a body of government, a few people that they delegate a right to run their village on people's behalf. Every villager would give a little bit of what she earns to build the village up and make it pretty, safe, and comfortable. You know, it's called taxes. People themselves decide on how much taxes they will give to, you know, to the village. And if they don't want to decide, if they don't want to give any taxes at all, they have a right to do that. It's just they need to achieve it through voting. They decide to elect the government people, you know, the personnel, for short times. They grant government people to right to do things according to what the villagers want. If they want new roads, the government people must build new roads as commanded by the villagers, by the people, because the roads are built for the villagers by the villagers' money, taxes. It's the villagers who are paying for the roads, for whatever they say, you know. And village government's responsibility to build the roads in the most efficient, honest way possible, exactly as told. The government must be transparent on how it spends villagers' money, and the government people obviously get compensated, but they're paid salaries, but it has to be transparent. If the villagers don't like the government, they fire the government and hire new one. We are the people have the final say. Now, the village must be a safe place. So the villagers hire police force. Again, each one of them throws a little bit of their money into, the pot, and they create a fund to fund the police force. They hire a chief, and the chief creates the police force on behalf of the villagers. We are the people set the rules and the laws for the policemen. The policemen are paid by the villagers, therefore the purpose is to serve and protect the villagers. I can go on further, but I've tried to simplify the basic principles that America is built on and run by. Okay, I hope you got the idea. Now let's look at the village Russia again. People get together. A bunch of people get together and create village Russia. It has a fence, a bunch of houses, land. But then people get together, they start speaking up, but then a really strange thing happens. It's the same people, same kind of people, same emotions, same feelings, same faith. But something different happens. A strong man appears in the middle of the villagers, and he declares himself a king. There are some people, some villagers, they say, wait a second, that's not how it works. We don't want a king. They're all equal, okay? We are the villagers of village Russia. Guess what happens? The strong man kills those people right on the spot, along with their bodies, and everyone gets afraid, scared for their lives. And this is how, they accept the rule of the strong man, and the strong man is called the king. And this is how the king of the village is born. The king is supposed to be chosen by God. At least it's the story that this newly minted king sells to people. Well, some people start buying it and some don't, but that's the official, that's the legend. The king is chosen by God, appointed by God. So the king has heavenly powers. The first thing king does is he creates his own a set of his own rules. And of course, his rules are to protect his kingship. The king perhaps even tells people, oh, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to protect the village and I'm going to protect you. But that's not what the king wants. The king wants to be king for as long as he can. The king is appointed by God. That's the official story again. Therefore, he is above most people. Therefore, there's no equality in the village. Screw equality. For the king, the equality is dangerous. What is allowed to Jupiter is not allowed to serve. The king rules by force. If someone does not like or disobeys the king, king's men are sent to take care of the disobedience. Bit by bit, people stop disobedience. The king surrounds himself with his buddies, other strong men, and his family. The king writes the set of his rules. And they go something like this. Do not criticize the king. If you criticize the king, you'll be punished. All you have is the belongings of the king, because king is appointed by God. You must give some food and money to the king every month. This is your right to be the villager of Village Russia. You must act as told by the king or king's people, because king is appointed by God. He has the right that you don't. You are a subject to king's court, and king appoints the judges. Something happens, you have to go to a court. You rely on decision of the judge. And the court is organized by the way king wants. Now, there are a few things that people are forbidden to do in the village, and that is to bear arms, because if they bear arms, they become independent, and if they get into a group, they might pose a threat to king's men and the king himself, and king doesn't like that, so he forbids everyone who possesses an arm, a gun, a saber, whatever, is shot to death on the spot. King's rule. King has his own police, and king pays the police. The police, the force, defends, serves, and protects the king, because king feeds the police, okay? Basically, the goal of the police force in the village Russia is to protect the king from the villagers. King is for life. He's not elected. He's appointed by God. Therefore, God does not mistakes. Therefore, the king is for life. And the king, the power of the king will be inherited by king's children. King becomes the ultimate decision maker. King knows what's better for everyone. King knows who to forgive and who to punish. King's word becomes law. Everything the village has is for the king. The set of rules is written by the king. Therefore, the king is the only person who can change the rules. The king can delegate some of the powers that he has, but it is up to king for how long and to who to delegate the powers. Well, folks, welcome to Village Russia, the new kingdom. So many questions I'm asked. Now I hope you understand them. I'll try to answer, and I'll be short. The kingdom was not Russia. The kingdom solidified after February 22nd of last year, 2022, when the war started, for one simple reason. Violence started being applied to Russian citizens who started disagreeing with what the government was saying. Of course, there's no king in Russia. Of course, the leadership is called different names, but I think you have the idea what I said. So a lot of people who disagreed with the leadership's position, actions, basically have been punished, prosecuted. And the laws has been created, not written by the people, no, we are the people, but by the government. And the government is the czar. And a lot of those laws, they're just atrocious, okay? They've stripped the villagers, the Russians, of the last remaining freedoms they had before the start of the war. And they basically made life pretty much unbearable. Russian Tsar has built a system that protects him. When I was explaining, I said the police force. It's not really the police force. It's more complicated. It's the army, it's the police, it's secret police called KGB and so forth. It's a combination of force of government agencies that can use violence against people, okay? And that is consolidated around the Tsar, and it is created with a purpose to protect the Tsar. There are questions like why the war was started. It doesn't make any sense. Why the taxes in Russia are being raised doesn't make any sense. Why the African countries' debts were forgiven doesn't make any sense. Why African villages are being built in Russia for the Africans when Russians, not doing well. Many Russians live below poverty line. Why? It doesn't make any sense, right? Why country's oil trade, the richest bread maker, was destroyed in days just like that? Why stealing assets from the foreigners? Why? All these questions. I think now you understand after my explanation, at least I hope you understand, is that it's very simple. Yes, war does not make any sense. No one believed before the war that war actually would happen. No one. There's one person who makes the decisions in Russia. He's written rules for himself, and he makes decision to start the war because he wants so. It's not good for the country. It's not good for the safety of the country. It's not good for the people. Oh, God forbid. He just wants to attack Ukraine, and he attacks it. Why forgive African countries their debts they own to Russia? $23 billion. You know what? There are so many people don't have housing in Russia, or they have very old housing that's collapsing. Why don't you just build new houses for this $23 billion? You can do so much. You can build so many new schools. You can build hospitals. You can, inject that money into education system. Do something good for the Russian people. But, the Tsar decides he wants to look good for some African dictators who's been at power for 40 plus years. So he decides to write off their debts to Russia. They hail him, okay? That's it. Not good for the, village Russia. It's just, king decides spontaneously to do that. Plain and simple. Nothing more, nothing less. Oil trade has been the bread maker of Russia for over 70 years. Why destroy it in one swift movement overnight? King doesn't care what happens after him, after he's out of the office. He doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about the people. He cares only to prolong his kingship, prolong his power. He grabs on his power and he tries to remain king for as long as possible. Now, there are so many incompetent people in the Russian government, but they have been a permanent feature of the Russian government for 20 plus years. Most of them, all of them. Why? Why wouldn't you fire? In normal countries, governments fired or replaced every 4 or 5 years. In Russia, 20 years and going. Why? Because plain and simple, king surrounds himself with loyal people, his friends, his family, those who prove their loyalty. They don't have to be smart. They don't have to be patriotic. They don't have to love Russia. They can do anything they want. They can steal. They can break the law. All they have to do is to be loyal to the king. Why stealing assets from foreigners? Right now, we see that happens left and right. Western companies who came into Russia in the past, and built big factories, started manufacturing goods, they're being kicked out and their assets simply being stolen from them. Look at the Danone dairy factory. What happened to it? That's a fresh example. Well, because plain and simple, the loyal people asked the king to do that. That's it. It wasn't done for the good of Russia. It wasn't done for the taxes. It wasn't done for the economy. It simply was done because someone approached and asked the Tsar. Russia has fallen into a trap of kingdom, and there is no easy way out. The only force that can change that is the people. If Russian people can wake up and realize that they are the people, they have the final say. The government must do whatever they command the government to do. And the leader of the country, the president, is not the Tsar, is not appointed by God for life. He's simply given a right to manage. He's a manager, to manage the country, the village, for a short time. That's it. And he must show good results. And if he doesn't, he's out of the door. Okay? No one else but the Russian people can change that. Now, how it can be done and why they're not changing it is a topic for a different stream. I'm not ready to discuss it right now, but it's also a very interesting topic. I've been thinking on that for a long time. Before I finish the stream, folks, I'd like to tell you, please do not make your own mistakes. Learn from ours. We in Russia have made so many mistakes that the entire world can use as an example on how not to do things. So please, keep your government in check. Keep your government transparent and change it. Change it every so often. Don't let it stay for too long. Please do not make your own mistakes. Learn from ours. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for coming and giving me a chance, listening and watching. I would like to invite you to a live stream chat. I will try to answer as many questions as possible. Let's do it. Wait. Hope it wasn't too loud. If you're not seeing chat, please hit refresh button and it should be right on. Wow, the picture is a little brighter today. I don't know why. My face is washed out. Very strange. Ooh. Sad message today. Before I start, I'd like to tell you this. I read a few messages saying, like, after my yesterday stream and recent streams, oh, Konstantin, you don't know, we have it so bad in America. We have it so bad in the West, as bad as in Russia. No, you don't. You have it great. And if you want to, learn my words, that just come to Russia and spend some time in Russia. Not in Moscow, but because Moscow is not really Russia, it's the capital. Come to real Russia, to the metropolia, to, places far away from Moscow, far away from St. Petersburg. You will see real Russia. Live there. Then come back to your home. And after that, you tell me how bad you have it in the West. Hang on. As usual, I'm opening a live stream chat in a separate window. It's easier for me that way. Thank you, mods. Thank you for coming. We have the best moderation team on this channel inside Russia. In case you are here for the first time, you didn't know. Lorna, Mami K, Harry Potter, Bob S, and Prince Amir Fazad. Thank you so much, friends, for coming. Usual suspects, fantastic to see you too. If you want me to notice your messages easier and faster, would you please put them in caps and put Inside Russia after @ so they appear highlighted in large orange box in front of my eyes. Thank you so much. Yeah, they appear highlighted just like Harry Potter did. You put Inside Russia after @ Thank you, Harry. And Bob S. and Pamela J. And there's a first question from Pamela. Maybe you should return this stream on the 4th of July or maybe Thanksgiving. Rerun the stream. Hey, did you like it? I just imagine so many rocks thrown into me saying, oh, you simplify things, it's like, what are you, stupid? And well, I tried to be as simple as possible. I kind of like this analogy of country village. Ray does it. Thank you so much. When I talk with my Russian friend, I regularly hear that you've said multiple times, what can we do? And a sign, I know. This is anywhere you go in Russia. This is start talking to Russians about things important, anything. And they go, but what can we do? Nothing we can do. And, a sigh is like a must. Always you will have a sigh. My question, what can average Russian do? What should they do? It's a good question. I don't have a clear answer, but I just have my thoughts. And my first thought is every single Russian should wake up. Every single Russian should start asking questions. And you don't have to go to your government, to your senators, because you will not be greeted lightly and you will be not welcomed there, okay? The government in Russia serves for a different purpose, just like I was trying, forgive me if I failed, but I was trying my best, to give you an example in the stream. The government in Russia is for the Tsar, to keep the Tsar protected, to apply his power onto people. And if you come and start asking questions against the Tsar, against the government, you will not be greeted well. They will look at you and say, oh, wait a second, that's a good question. Would you please let me write down your name and address? And if you do, if you tell them, then when you get home, you get knock on the door and people in uniform saying, hello, we would like to have a little talk, okay? So Russian people should start asking themselves questions. Everyone should take a piece of paper and start writing down the questions that interesting to them. The questions like, for example, how come Since September 21st, no one has told us, Russians, how many Russian men died in Ukraine. They keep on telling us how many Ukrainians died. But it's odd they don't tell us how many Russians died. Don't we have a right to know? And wait a second, how our taxes are spent? Let's take a closer look. You know, if on paper there's a road in front of my yard, in front of my house, on paper, and in reality there is no road, let's find out why. Questions like that. Everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with a question. And this is what they need to start doing, okay? This is what I think. And then there will be many more steps. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that's the step number one. They got to wake up. They got to start thinking and asking themselves questions. And then they'll find someone to start asking questions, but then they start with themselves because the changes are born inside of us. Howdy, Amir. Howdy. Again, I'm reading the comments in caps and highlighted. Palm Tree Kate, howdy. Mama Two Boys, hello, hello. Paul Santek, howdy. Roy Cousins from London, Doxy Mom, Ken Taylor, Allison Marlowe, Florida Oblast. Let's keep it Florida. I hope Florida will not become Oblast anytime soon. Dick Rip Tackles, thank you so much for the good words. Chirper, Justeri, Tulio, Mario, Airbeck, 820, usual suspect here. Howdy, howdy. Since 60,000 subscribers, thank you, friend. Thank you for staying with us. You're a very trusted member of the community, Arbeck 820. Thank you. Howdy, Lorna. Howdy, howdy, everyone again. Sam K, what the fudge? I like your name. New name. It's old, good old Sam K, but the new challenging name. Lorraine Prasnowski, fantastic to see, and thank you so much for gifting membership to 5 people from me and from 5 people. Thank you. I think I missed a couple super chats. Took me a long time to answer one of them. There you go. KG1, does Russia need an Oliver Cromwell figure to fight against the king in its own civil war? A hard question. I don't know how to answer it. Russia needs someone, all right, but it doesn't have to be Oliver Cromwell. It has to be, I don't know, Ivanov or something like that. But and there will be one. I don't believe that Russia will suffer this forever. No, nothing in life is forever. Charlie B from Pacific Beach, California. Howdy. Good evening, and your tennis racket. Tennis racket's gonna get to a good use. My hand is pretty much all recovered. So I start playing on Friday. Andrew Hodson from South Africa. Howdy, friend. Home at East class, presidents like diapers need to be changed frequently. Oh, I agree with you. If you don't, they start stinking. Joan Wisnowski. Blinken is in Ukraine with another. Is this trillion? I don't think he's giving Ukraine trillion. Billion, perhaps. billion. Ferrari guy? Ooh. Jumped right out of my eyes. Hang on. Looking. Fishmar, fantastic stream. Thank you so much. It's really fantastic to hear that. I tried. All messed up. There was a message from Ferrari guy and I lost it. I'm sorry, so I'll just move on. Dev Low, love to listen to as always. Thank you, who lived in Russia for so long. What is your advice for Westerners who have loved ones that have fallen to Russians' propaganda? Much love from Germany. Danke schön. Das ist ein big Problem. Not for the Germans, not for the. I know Germans who are going through this. What you wrote, I know the Americans. I know Russians. No one is immune from this plague. Okay, this plague just gets right inside of the brains of people and eats them. I don't have an answer, unfortunately, and it sucks. This is such a fine fabric of people's relationships, that it's so unique to every couple, to every person. There's no universal advice, and I don't even know what to advise, I am so grateful. I pray to God every time I go to bed, away from the stream, and I wake up, okay? And I start with this. Thank you for my wife. Thank you that we have the same connection, the same views, the same values. Thank you. Because I don't know what I would have done if she would support the war, That'd be just like a disaster. I would be absolutely defenseless and helpless, okay? I pray for those people, Devlo, and I feel terrible. I grieve. Again, I know many people. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to even to say. That's tough. Boris, howdy. I have a question about gasoline prices in Russia. Is it still affordable? Well, the gasoline prices are always affordable. I mean, is food affordable? You gotta eat. You will buy food at any price. You will sacrifice everything else that, the gasoline is food for your car. If you have to move, if you have to transport yourself, you will cut on other things, on clothing, on on furniture, whatever. But you will still be feeding it with gasoline, so it's still affordable. But it's record high prices right now. Like I've been saying for so long, Titanic has been flooded. All its compartments have been flooded, and it's going down. And the gasoline prices is one piece of a puzzle of this economic disaster. And we're seeing it right now. The Russians start screaming right now, what the fudge is going on? Well, you know what? It's taken you 18 months, but the fudge is catching up with you, Through my own research, I have gained an impression that in Russia you pay more for it in relation to income than in Western Europe. Yes. Oh, yes. You're absolutely right. Russians pay so much more considering if their incomes compared, and they pay so much more for many things, not just gas. But gas is absolutely terrible, okay? And there is statistics coming out of Russia now, and I'm going to make a dedicated stream. What's happening? The statistics that Russians actually giving up cars. Well, you wanted to go back to the USSR? Well, go back to the USSR. You know, in the USSR, we didn't have cars. You're not going to have cars now. You simply won't be able to afford them. The Chinese crap that, you know, is flooded Russia right now, have as you wished. You know, what can I say? So again, Boris, the prices are affordable in terms of people afford them, but they cut on something else. They'll be able to afford them for quite some time, and then they will simply stop driving. And the companies, the transport companies, they will just jack up their prices according to the gasoline. But you got to understand that everything that is produced in Russia, food that is grown, services that are rendered, provided, they all have gasoline price inside their cost. So the cost is growing, and the prices will be growing too. Don't even get me started on this economic issues. Dave Strains, howdy, howdy. GB, why did the strongman came to village Russia and not to many other villages inside Russia? Not a huge expert on that, to be honest with you. I'm expert on some things, and some things I don't know much. From what I understand, people are different everywhere. And Russians were simply too weak or too separated or too fragmented, perhaps, to stand up and fight against the strongman. That's one of the explanations. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to research. That's just too far in the history. I have many other things to research right now. Chile. Wow, that's a long way from here. Well, first of all, Tulio, thank you so much for being here. I see you are. I didn't know you're from Chile. I've seen your name. I've seen you on the streams, but I didn't know you're from all the way from so far. Star Trek or Star Wars? Both, neither. Sci-fi in general. Star Wars. I think Star Trek is more of an American phenomena. You have to be born in America to, this be inside of this Star Trek thing. I wasn't. I watched my first Star Trek movie I was 15 or 14 in 1990. But Star Wars is larger than life, I love sci-fi. It's one of my most favorite genre of books and movies. I basically, when I was a kid, that's all I read. I loved Jules Verne books, the French author, one of the best sci-fi authors of all times. I read all his books, and I just absolutely love it. I loved it so much. I love it a little less now because of, I don't know, this sci-fi doesn't excite me anymore because what I'm seeing around me is sci-fi, okay? When I was reading Jules Verne and in the USSR was one thing, right now is absolutely different thing. But thank you so much for coming. Thanks for the question and support. And Crusader Damien with the best questions of Inside Russia. Thank you, friend, for coming. There has to be a deeper explanation for Russian apathy towards death and life. Life expectancy is 134th in the world. Why such a fatalist society? Well, first of all, thank you. Very deep question. You're right. It is a fatalist society. You're right. Attitude towards death and life is just like that, indifference. Apathy. I would say indifference. I made a stream a long time ago. I think you were in that stream. I think it was called The Price of Human Life. I think I was still back in Rostov, which is a year from now, a year ago, over a year ago. Price of human life in Russia is not high, okay? The deeper explanation must be done. I just don't know what it is. Like the previous question, why the Russians did not fight the strongmen. You know what? There is a professor from historian, a professor from Moscow State University who, just like me, just like all of us, fled Russia last year, and due to his political stand, and he's a member of Tashkent International Tashkent Breakfast Club. He's a fantastic guy. He's such a pleasure, intellectual pleasure speaking with him. I learn new things from him, and he knows so much. And I will ask him this exact question. Where does this apathy for or indifference towards death and life takes roots in Russian history? So thank you. I will do that. Carson Larrymore, in my humble opinion, seems Russians only want stability. It will probably take another economic crash like in the 90s, and then the elites will try to lure the West back in as before. Two different things. I think no matter what happens, the elites will be trying to lure the West back. It's just, you know what, not like this. They will be trying to get forgiveness of the West, of them personally. So they will be able to get out here to the West. So they will be protected by this wonderful laws, by the equality, by good court system, justice system, and so forth. I think that's a great deal of oligarchs, the elites. They will try to flee Russia if they're allowed, if they're forgiven, if they're return their money or guaranteed, security, safety of their money, assets. It'll probably take another economic crash for the Russians to, wake up. We're seeing it right now. We don't have to wait for long. Russian ruble was trading at 98 today. Again! And Russian government, Russian central bank is trying to save it now by actually selling dollars and buying rubles back. That's not the way to help the economy, let me tell you. They can stabilize the ruble for a little bit, but what they're doing is absolutely insane now. And I'm going to make a stream on that or a video soon this week. So they're desperate. They're in panic. They don't know what to do. Okay, and we don't have to wait long for another economic crash. Thank you, Carlson. Boris, thank you very much. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Russia is producing it and exports are going down. So I would assume they are sitting on the stuff. I'm not sure what you mean. Oil? I'm confused. Producing it, what? Does this come from your previous stream? Oh, previous message. I cannot see it. It's too high up. Anyway, Russia produce it like what? Oh yeah, we were talking about gasoline. Well, I made 2 streams about gas, Russian oil, not gasoline, but oil. A day before yesterday and yesterday. Go ahead and check them out. Series of 2 streams. First is how Russian oil is a curse for the country. And the second is what's happening with oil exports, oil extraction, oil exports right now. Okay, so go and check it out. Especially you want to check out yesterday's stream. Tina S., thank you so much. Inside Russia, dear Konstantin, Germans unfortunately were not the ones who changed Nazi Germany. We needed whole destruction to build up the country. The brains and the hearts from the scratch. Oi, Tina, I've said it many times before, but I keep on saying it. I really admire Germans for what you've done. It's the way you built up the country. You built up the values, the standards. Perhaps it's in your hearts. I don't know. You have made Germany more than just a country, but you've made it a beacon of light for all countries in the world who are in darkness right now. This basically hope. The Germans have given the world hope that if Germans could overhaul a country like that, that anyone can. Okay, this is my point of view. But that's a good point. I kind of never thought that it's not the Germans who did not change Nazi Germany. It's not a good thought, you know. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much. Ann Larson, howdy, howdy. Thank you so much. Nothing is perfect anywhere, but the significant difference, who has power? You right? Christian Akamura, I learned that a lot of Americans have grit and tenacity. Konstantin, do Russians have grit and tenacity? I am ashamed to admit I don't know what grit and tenacity is. Let me get the translation and I'll answer. Grit and tenacity. Grit. Зернистость. Tendency. I'm sorry. Christian, could you please rephrase your question? I don't understand. Pinda, the saying is, do not make the same mistakes, learn from ours. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I say that phrase quite often. Pinda, brutally honest question. How can we bring a nation to reality that considers itself to be the best in the world? Is there a mirror large enough? You are just, folks, you're just shooting your questions right here, you know, or right here. Does it have to be brought to the knees? Japan in 1945? Well, this is a brutally honest question. I'm going to give you a brutally honest answer. I think more and more than yes. The question is, who's going to bring Russia to its knees? The outsiders or Russians themselves? From what it's looking like right now, Russians are bringing themselves on their knees. Not even on their knees, they're just laying in a puddle of blood because they shot themselves in their feet, in the knees, in the stomach, you know, and Russia might be reborn through a huge crisis. I tend to believe that more and more now. Ryan Williams, thank you. Hopefully next year you can come to Texas. We'll sit on the beach in South Padre watching SpaceX launch their massive new rocket while eating tacos and barbecue. Take care. Well, Ryan, thanks for the support. And you know what? I'd love that. I really would love that. That'd be nice. I hope so. I hope one day I can do that. Shane Walker, people don't learn from other people's mistakes, they only learn from their own. Tend to disagree with you. Chris, I agree with the analogy, but the only thing I do not agree with that the king is not appointed by God, but appointed himself with the army backing him. Hey, you misunderstood me totally. I didn't say that he was appointed by God. I said that's the story that king sells to everyone. He covers up his kingship with that. That's the legend. Because how else people would be patient with that king? Only by force, or knowing that the king came from appointed, by God. So I never said that he's appointed by that's BS. Our Lord Jesus Christ loves us. We're his children. He doesn't, make us kings or peasants. We're the same in his eyes, and we're equal. We're born equal. Anyway, I can go I can go on and on about that. So you totally misunderstood me. I never said the king is appointed by God. Ferrari guy, I worry that the few left origin authoritarian regimes have fallen in favor of democratic reform without occupation through right origin ones have fallen. Ours origins are in collectivist left. Well, thanks for sharing. I don't know what to say. I hope everything works out. Jason Carney, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your support. Thanks for being here. You just being here, warms my heart. That you supporting is very appreciated and much, much welcomed. Thank you from me and from my family. And thanks for gifting 5 sponsorships to people. Thank you so much. Frank in Texas, your vlog was similar to Roman. Roman who? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. I shared what I know, what I have been thinking of, and what I've come up with. It's my stuff. I don't, that's pretty much what I think, and I've shared with you. Mark Gebhard, was Russia a democracy between 1990 and 2000? I can't say it was. It was a democracy from 91 to 93, September 93. In 93, Boris Yeltsin staged a coup and he basically seized the power. But still, in the entire Russia's history, that period from 1990 and 2000 was the most democratic. Boris Yeltsin did a few quite bad things, but he also did quite a few good things for Russia. He never made a move on Russian media, Russian press. Russian media was free. Russian newspapers, TV channels, there was freedom of speech, and elections in 96, they were more or less honest. Okay, I think that's the last honest elections that Russia had. Janice Burgess, I think some Americans tend to take freedoms for granted. Well, I suggest to everyone, get outside and go and pick a country, not necessarily Russia. Belarus would be a good choice, or other countries, and live there for a few months. And then you come back to the USA and we'll talk. Um, Terry Carter, have you looked for Tashkent here in the U.S.? Terry, I'm being a little slow. You mail me what you meant. I don't quite understand. Sometimes it happens after you sit in front of the camera, you speak, and you try to deliver a message, and then that's you think a lot, and then you have a question and answer session. I read the answer. I don't have any time to prepare. I just answer you on top of my mind, and after a while, brain starts working slower. Okay, it means that Nightbot is probably signaling me. Time is up. I am finishing up right now. Couple questions. That's it. To what other autocrat in Russian history is Putin more like? Tulio, very hard question. I think he's trying real hard to become next Stalin. I think that's what he wants. Are you seen in Russia so other Russians can hear you? Well, try me, Brian. Trust me, the Russians have so many resources in Russian available to them. They don't need me. All I say, is being said in different fragments, in tons of Russian media that's moved outside of Russia and operating from abroad. Wake up and start asking questions. Sounds like a good advice. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Michael C. Does Putin want endgame because he's so frustrated? Very complicated answer to this question. He's just trying to survive, basically. He's like, a cornered animal, does everything to stay alive. And that's what Putin is doing right now. Terry Carter, perhaps look for a meeting spot here in the U.S. Terry, let me show you this. Understand now, folks. Wrapping up. Thank you so much for coming. There will be another message tomorrow. I'll try to make it an interesting one as well. Thank you, thank you, Ron. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm not cut for politics. I can't stand that. Thank you so much for another stream, friends. Oh, this is the best comment so far. This was a stream that encourages thought. That's this is exactly what I want to do, Terry, this is exactly my dream, to encourage thinking in people. So thank you. Huge compliment to me. Thank you so much. Folks, please, let's finish this stream by praying together. I invite everyone to pray, the believers and non-believers. If you don't believe in prayer, in God, then please join us. Do me a favor. I've been speaking and giving you message. Repay me by praying along and sending good people, good vibes, good energy, good thoughts, good wishes, whatever you call it. Please pray along. Say along the words that I say. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for giving us these lives. Thank you for putting food on our tables and giving roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful and raise them in a way that when they become adults, they will make this place a better world and will never engage in any wars. For now, please keep our children safe and healthy, because they're our world. They're the most important that we have in our lives. Dear Lord, please help stop bloodshed in Ukraine. Please reach out and touch the hearts and souls of people who have been doing it for the past 18 months. So they wake up and they will understand what they've done, and they will try to fix the situation at least by stopping the bloodshed as soon as possible. So please reach out and do anything that is possible for them to be done so the bloodshed stops. Please help every single Ukrainian who has been affected by this terrible tragedy. Answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. Please send angels to Ukrainians so the angels keep harm away from people's paths and lives. Dear Lord, please help my country. Russia, assemble up there in heaven, assemble the strongest army of your strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael in shining armor, and send it like a heavenly avalanche onto this earth to get rid of the demons, to roll over them, to kick them out to where they belong, to hell, and have angels run Russia, make it peaceful, make it loved, loving, respected, and respectful. Please help all who are traveling, send them safe travels. Thank you. Please help all who are seeking for asylum. Help single mothers who are struggling, trying to make ends meet. Bless those who are helping Ukrainians, opening their doors, thoughts, minds, wallets, praying for them. Please help all the hungry, the homeless, the jobless, the sick, the depressed, the addicted, the ones who are struggling with faith, the ones who are not feeling good about themselves. Please shine your heavenly light upon every person in trouble, hurting, suffering, feeling betrayed, and surround them in the warmth of your love. So when they feel that, each one of them, they will feel better about their lives and about themselves, and they will get up from their knees. They will stand tall, stand proud, and will have a chance for a happy, good life. Thank you so much for assembling us, allowing us to assemble into this community, allowing us to pray together. Please help everyone who's praying along with me, and just simply watching us pray, help those too. Answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I would like to ask you to help a few people. They need your help. They are Jason Connor, who is heading for a surgery, Janice Stevenson, S. J. Spike, Leslie Fleming's daughter, Boss Simon, a boy Sam from Kiev, a girl Sarah, she needs recovery. Please send her angels and answer her family's prayers. Frank in Texas. Hannah, Julia Haney, Vasilin Lubomirov, Gloria Roberts, Ann Larson, her family and daughter Hannah, Patty L., Darla, White Lightning, George Ruberty, Dave Strains, Lise Dumbrell and her family, Finola, David Porter, his family and everyone who's in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Lars, Susan Marshall, Joe and Lee McMahon, Meta Spencer, Taylor Fleming, Pamela J, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Svetlana, Michael Milkevitz, Paul Beans, Angelic at Life, Dirk, Rafaela From, Alice and Dave Moyers, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Kumrian, Susie Mailer, Karen, Lori Miles' husband, and EMS paramedic Liz. Dear Lord, thank you so much. Please help those people, and also please all the children from Ukraine who have been affected by this terrible tragedy. Please send your help to them. Also help all the children who are not feeling well. Thank you so much. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, amen. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for another day. Thank you for another good conversation, good live stream. It's fantastic. It's definitely the high of my day when I converse with you after I turn the live stream chats on. I will come back with another message tomorrow. I'll try to make it interesting. Please give me a chance. I'll see you tomorrow. And before I go, before I sign off as usual, I'd like to ask you to say along with me the usual, out loud as you can. Carthago delenda est.